So we want to put this in the beginning that before we really get into the topic heavy about space survival, again, the challenge is human biology. What evolution is and what evolution simply is not. Again, to reiterate, human beings are what they are basically in terms of an adaptation over time or macroevolution to survive in a particular environment. So the problem of human survival in space, it's basically the challenge if you were to keep a fish alive on land. People do that artificially by use, for example, aquariums and stuff like that, but it's a good analogy of basically humans, evolution does not give you the ability. This is the magical thinking part. So people debate evolution. Is it real? Did evolution happen? But even people who believe in evolution, there's a magical thinking about it. For example, evolution is going to give us the ability to survive, breathe in space. No, it's not. You have evolved lungs for the conditions of the earth. Your biological functions, everything a human being is. And that evolution only emerged in terms of giving people the ability, the adaptation to survive in a particular environment conditioned by the Earth. Evolution is not going to give you the ability to survive in space. For that, we have to look to something beyond evolution. That is not part of biological evolution. So biological evolution only, once anatomically modern humans emerged, whether in Africa, different points, but that's it in terms of biology. Everything else after the emergence of anatomically modern humans, so that's driven by technology. So evolution did happen, but essentially nothing really depends on evolution anymore. So it's in reality, did evolution exist? Yes. Are things being really driven by evolution? We would say no. And this goes back to the importance of modern medicine, modern healthcare technology. Without these technological advents, it would be a very brutal world. So again, people basically, if people diss modern science, modern medicine, immunization, without modern immunization vaccines, it's a brutal world. And we're going to talk about how brutal and nasty a world without modern medicine would be, modern technology. And technology is not just the key for survival on Earth. It's the key to survival in space, if we ever get there. The greatest challenge and impediment to long-term survival in space, or even a temporary journey in space, are the limitations of human biology. What does the human being have to do with a horseshoe crab that is virtually unchanged for 445 million years? Quite a lot. So there's a lot of misunderstanding of evolution. Can human beings ever evolve to survive in space? The answer is no. That's not how evolution works, okay? Evolution was a very brutal process. So before modern medicine, before modern technology, most things were just driven by environmental calamity, this brutal selection. And through technology, that is the only way we have kind of risen up to overcome this brutal world of evolution. So evolution, people think about modern medicine. So there's, basically, we talk about immunizations, vaccination. Imagine a world without immunization. Okay, let's just go back around, heck, how many centuries ago? But basically, it's a brutal world. Okay, why do families basically, for example, they have to have like 7 kids? Essentially, due to whatever famine, disease, plague, mortality was very high. So the families would have 7 kids. They could have 5 that die, 2 that survive. So without going too much, you can kind of understand this brutal world. Before medicine, before immunization, vaccines, all of the above stuff. that becomes so controversial today, right? In some circles anyway. But without modern medicine, without technology, it would be a very brutal world where mortality is extremely high, and it just goes back to Darwinian natural selection. So, where basically everyone is at the mercy of the genetic lottery. If someone has a condition, well, modern medicine doesn't exist. You just got the basically it's just everyone to their own fate. It's a very brutal and dark world. So someone can be born a genius, but let's just say they have inherited some type of, miscoded gene or something, and, basically without, any mitigation of technology, basically a genius might be condemned just to the draw of the lottery. Okay, so it's a very dark world. A world of evolution isn't this fantasy where basically everyone is just progressing. No, it's more like you have 7 kids, 5 die, uh, maybe 1 survive, and it's just this brutal reality repeating over and over. So, but that brings to another problem. Human beings are not designed to survive in space. Okay, people eat, they breathe, uh, they have their biological functions. Um, Space is not meant. Basically, humans are not. It's not a value statement, but humans are. They were never meant to survive for any long duration in space. So whether we're talking about the ISS, the uh, the Chinese space station, whatever, the former Soviet era space station, they're all designed for these very short-term durations because, to the best of our knowledge, there's no way. For example, we're not experts on this, but space is inhospitable. It's not like, um, may correct us if we're wrong, but it's probably not like there's just free-floating hydrogen, abundance hydrogen, um, oxygen just free-floating that can just be synthesized from, from the vacuum, near vacuum of space, not a true vacuum. So anywhere within the solar system, basically even in Earth orbit, you're not really in pure vacuum, because you're still under the influence of the forces of the Earth, right? So, basically, uh, the electromagnetic field, uh, basically sort of like an extension of the Earth atmosphere. So you're not outside the neighborhood. But the biggest challenge is this problem of human biology. There's probably 300 million years to figure this stuff out. Maybe there are technologies that will enable long-term human survival. So the technological history of humans it's very short. So um, you don't really know what happens in 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 3,000 years. So basically, if we're talking about space survival, basically, um, this is a very limited ability to even talk about it because, if you ask civilizations in the Middle Ages, they wouldn't even have a concept that humans would ever, get out of the inner atmosphere. So, but on a separate note, Earth compared to the planetary bodies that actually look most like spheres are gas giants. So if you look at the moon, it's full of craters, it's pretty uneven. If you look at Mars, you're going to see land features, but Earth has a semblance of a sphere, giving it more of an appearance of a perfect sphere, because you can think about the atmosphere vulgarly, atmosphere oceans. It's kind of like a foundation applied over the uneven features of the Earth. But if you strip away the atmosphere and the oceans, um, it's gonna look kind of like an ordinary rocky planet that can't really support life like Mars. Um, so that's kind of interesting if you have Earth without atmospheres, without oceans. But yeah, that's the problem of long-term habitation. in space, even if they were, for example, colonists on Mars. So again, evolution is no longer the predominant driving force. Whatever colonies in the future, they're going to be dependent on technology. So there's this imagination that evolution is going to start over again. You have like a population on Mars. Basically, there's going to be this idea of microevolution. Basically, someone has a better adaptation to for example, a thinner atmosphere to reduce gravity, and then whoever by random mutation over time, they're going to be reproducing everywhere, and then the population slowly conforms to whoever has advantageous mutation, adaptation. But essentially, this is our view. Evolution is basically finished. So some people don't believe in evolution, but our view is evolution before technology. That's what pretty much drove everything. A very brutal reality. But with technology, with modern medicine, basically, there's basically, people can see, basically there's modern medicine, medical science, modern technology, gene therapy. This basically has essentially overcome the brutal world of evolution. So human beings, as they currently are, that's um, absent small changes, or basically changes brought about by technology. Whether we're talking about gene therapy or gene enhancement, if basically advantages can be passed on through the germline to offspring and stuff like that, uh, the, any real changes to the human biology, that's going to be done by our own hands. Basically gene therapy, genetic enhancement, if that ever happens. But this whole evolution thing, where basically you're just at the mercy of elements. Family has 10 kids, 8 die, 2 survive. We're no longer part of that brutal world. So evolution is basically overcome, and that's that's a very good thing. But Earth looks very different from the other planets. So if there are more advanced civilizations, then if we were to assume, this is the dark part, this is the scary part, if they evolved from the same brutal process of might makes right. Okay, biology, Darwinian evolution is quite bloody. If they emerge from the similar processes, you can imagine that they would think, what a juicy target. So you never know. Nothing is too strange to contemplate. What if all of a sudden there's the equivalent of massive solar sails from another civilization? Here they are. The world is taken by surprise. Um, Basically, the first contact events where some civilizations toppled other civilizations. So you never know if that could happen. So basically, from a human-centric standpoint, it would probably be wishful thinking, but it would probably be a better scenario if Earth is an anomaly, if there is no other life um, within the visible universe. That would be a good thing, because if there's an advanced civilization out there, and if they ever have the ability to take the Earth, um, our bias would be conquest. Topple the humans, take over this planet. That would be our perspective. Maybe that's like a biased, perspective from a human-centric, but essentially our perspective would be, um, if there's an advanced civilization, be the new Genghis Khan. Topple these humans, conquer this planet, and seize it for yourselves. So, for the sake of humanity, it's probably a good idea. Let's hope there are no advanced intelligent civilizations, because if they emerge from the same process, usually Darwinian evolution means that some civilization, they come in contact. If you're on the unfortunate end, that's the end of your civilization. So as long as humans can basically continue to develop technology unharassed by some external force, there's a good chance of long-term survival.